looking for selfie redemption, but I don't know if H2K will be redeemed. The Emperor is Divine. Divine's absolutely nothing. It's a shutdown. Reckless trying to prove that he can make the plays too. But Mike with the mini door. They take down Kami. They've got a clean house. It's only missing an auto. A double kill for White Knight. And the base is next. Targus wants to bring it home. I don't know if he can. Are you kidding me? Who is going to end the game? Targus wants to bring it in. Ruin goes down. What is this? Oh my God! H2K, that is beautiful!
And for the first time in history, the fourth consecutive EU LCS contest, G2 Esports.
This is the underdogs in this game. No one expected anything, but they've been hard.
Welcome to Week 7 of the EU LCS Spring Split. Playoffs are getting closer every day, and with only 6 games left for each of our 10 teams, every matchup matters more than ever. Good evening, everyone. I'm Daniel Dracos, and before we talk about what lies ahead, we have to hit something that will affect every single one of our games this week, and that is patch 8.4. And now to break down the biggest changes in the patch, I am joined by Aaron Medic Chamberlain.
Thank you very much, Dracos. Two big lads to break down the big changes.
Big dude, big patch. Makes sense. Lines up. First things first, Medic. Zoe is dead. She is gone. Praise Rito. But we're not going to speak ill of the dead anymore. Instead, let's talk a little bit about the jungle changes.
Tracker's knife, gone. It's removed. It's as dead as Zoe is. No more vision for most of the junglers as well in that early game.
And this is what I love. Is yes, the warding is down, but I hope this leads to more aggression, because you got the Skirmisher Saber, you got the Stalker's Blade, and if you think about an aggressive jungler like Joko, a man who literally lives in those lanes, I want to see what he can do with it.
And the late game has been... It's going to benefit Joko as well. It's going to benefit Giants because second Elder Drake has been buffed. More damage sits on that now. Alongside that, the buffs that you get from the Elemental Dragons are even stronger. So we now have a time limit on most of our games, Dracos. Not going to get past that second Elder.
And look, we're not LCK in terms of game length, but we have been close some weeks, so it is nice to know that if you get that second Elder Drake, you just instantly win pretty much any team fight. The other thing I think we have to hit, though, is going to be the top lane. There has been a decent number of nerfs and buffs to champions across the board. Gnar and GP, two of the biggest contenders for top lane, have been taken down. But Camille is untouched, folks. Not nerfed, not buffed, still just as powerful as ever. Sion, who's been steadily gaining popularity, also completely untouched as well. So I think we know who might be the most powerful champions on the top side.
And I think Odo's going to be pretty happy with this as well. His Camille's very strong over the last few weeks. But if our mid laners want to bust some of these tanks down, like the Sion, some of the AP itemization changes may help them. Leandri's now does max HP damage, so we might see more Talia, more Azir trying to take down those big tanks. And alongside that, we have a new item on the Rift. It's Spellbind.
Okay, yeah, but who actually builds this, Medic? Because I have never, outside of like random solo queue cheese, I don't see this item.
If you want to troll, you just build 6 of them in solo queue. But we have seen some of the EU LCS mids actually building it on some specific champions. Karthus, we've seen Perks take that in solo queue. Alongside that, Jizuke's played it on Ryze. Really looking for someone who spams out quite a lot of spells. Final item that is back, it's Twin Shadows. It's back on the Rift, Dracos. And I'm
okay, wait, Let's call it Spooky Ghost. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it the official name is Spooky Ghost. Let's be clear here.
If you want to get a bit clingy, you can pick up the Twin Shadows. Probably going to see it mostly in the bottom lane on Morgana, or perhaps on Vladimir in the top lane as well. Able to keep onto those targets.
And of course, what's so crazy about this patch is the sheer size of it. These are just some of the changes that could affect competitive play. Now, if you aren't 100% familiar with 8.4, don't hesitate to check the patch notes. They're either in your client or on leagueoflegends.com. We're going to keep you up to date on everything new that gets played in today's games.
Very much for that breakdown, Dracos. Thank you very much, Medic, as well. And we'll see what kind of impact the new patch will have on the standings as the teams battle it out in that ever-exciting race for playoffs. Fnatic in a really good spot. They beat G2 last week. They have taken sole possession of first place. G2 is right behind them. And every storyline is interesting. Vitality, will they keep dropping? They had another 0-2 week. Giants is still on top of the standings. Will H2K and Unicorns
long gone are the days of the splits where there was a clear top and a clear bottom. Fnatic just now getting sole control of top spot. You can see Roccat, Team Vitality, both with 0-2 weeks, but everyone else 1-1. Anyone can take games off anybody, and it's so exciting to see.
It is very thrilling. Every game is crucial because every team can still make it to playoffs, and we've selected 3 that have a little extra to fight for. We're going to start off with Team Vitality. Already touched on them, Dracos, but now a 4-game losing streak. Still in 3rd place, but they're feeling all those other teams breathing down their neck.
Yeah, from 7-1 talking trash to 7-5 getting trashed on. Yeah, not quite as talkative as they once were, but we have to, I mean, for their sake, you have to hope that they can get a few more wins because they are so close to locking in that playoff spot, but a few games does separate them, and this could just be free fall if they can't get it together here.
It could be. We'll see what they can do today. Another team that I'm looking at is the Unicorns of Love. They have a great playoff tradition here in Europe, and they now have 3 wins in a row after that questionable start to the split, actually really bad start to the split.
Yeah.
It's really good to see that they have refound themselves and are getting some wins.
It wasn't great for a while. The official called them the best 1-8 team, though, 2 weeks ago. Now they are the best 4-8 team as they continue on that win streak, and they can prove that today as they go up against H2K. So just really a loaded day in terms of hype matchups.
That's true, and hyped matchups is also Fnatic versus Misfits. That's our match of the week later because Fnatic absolutely on a roll. 7-game win streak. They can also technically lock playoffs this week. I don't think they're too worried about locking playoffs, though. They came into the split with their eyes on the throne, and it looks like they're ready to sit down.
And hey, look, it was a rough start. We can give them that, but they have finally come together. Sole possession of first place is the perfect place to be, but can they hold on to it? I think that's the question on everyone's mind.
We'll see, and we'll see what they can do in that match of the week as they are looking for their 8th win in a row versus Misfits Gaming. And funnily enough, the last game that they lost was to Misfits in week 3 before they went on that epic winning streak. So can Misfits do anything even against this powerhouse?
Look, last time it took some creative use of Summoner Spellbook and a teleport flank from a jungler, so I think, yes, it is possible, and if Misfits want to show that they are a top team, definitely getting a win here today would be very good for them, but I think that they're going to want it to be a little bit cleaner than the last time they beat Fnatic.
Yeah, we hope so. A lot of people are saying Misfits is supposed to be a top 3 team. They're better than their record suggests, but I don't believe it until they beat some of these heavy hitters.
Until you consistently can beat other top teams, have you really earned that spot? Misfits haven't shown it yet. Haven't really found consistency whatsoever.
Will be a great test for them. Fnatic versus Misfits, that's our final game of the day. There's plenty of action coming up before that. As said, every single game counts. And Vitality versus Schalke is the one that I have my eye on personally, because Vitality, obviously, will they bounce back? Will they continue being in free fall? And Schalke, can they show us a consistent win? Can they show us a strong, convincing win?
Yeah, 2 teams stuck in very different problems. Schalke seems to always have one player overextending or getting caught, can't always quite coordinate as a 5, whereas Vitality were very high on individual playmakers, Jizuke and Gilius working together, and so it's interesting to see how both of these teams are struggling because it's so completely different, and if they can solve their problems, it will be a pretty exciting match to see who actually is developing quicker.
Every single one of these matches is hype. Unicorns of Love versus Vitality versus H2K, rather. We touched on it. Both of the teams that started off horribly and are going on a bit of a miracle run, possibly, even though it's only a 1-game difference with the team.
Look, I'm honestly, like, this is probably the most exciting game. I know that people are going to be excited for Misfits Fnatic. I think that is a top-tier matchup, but seeing who can improve faster, H2K and Unicorns of Love, it's like watching an arms race in person. Like, who is actually going to get the edge here, because they're both tied and they can get out of that bottom spot today.
What a thrilling race for the playoffs, and the battle for those playoffs continues with our first game between Roccat and Giant. So let's send it to our casters and hit the rift.
Thank you very much, Sharks. And hello, everybody. I'm Trevor Quickshot Henry, joined at the cast today for the first time by Maurice Amazing Stuckenschneider. Dude, welcome to the desk.
Thank you. I'm pretty nervous, though.
You're going to be awesome. We've done practice casts all week, and we're going to look at the junglers. Before, though, let's take a look at the teams who are facing off to start us on 8.4. On the blue side, it is, of course, Roccat with a Prophet, Memento, Blank, Hiku, and Norskeren. They are doing battle with their opponents today, Giants, and this is a middle of the table clash. Giants, of course, let's introduce the players to you with Ruin in the top lane, Joko in the jungle, Betsy in the mid lane, Steelback, and Targamas, the AD carry and support. And amazing, I mentioned it, we're playing on patch 8.4. We've seen a little bit of it in LVP. You've seen a lot of it in solo queue. What is it going to do for these 2 teams on stage today?
It's going to be interesting to see, because obviously with the new patch, the tracker snipe being gone means that you have to rely on blue and red smite to basically carry games. And we obviously know that both of these junglers have a lot of solo queue experience and competitive experience, that in both cases they should be able to adapt. But I do think it favors Joko a bit, because Memento has been relying on vision a lot. Especially
because he's so comfortable. Look at him in his chair. They're amazing. As casual as can be. His opponent, Memento, of course, less games played on stage, 54 under his belt. play style-wise, also very different, very vision-reliant. If we look at Joko, he's up at, I think, 72 games. Break down for me the difference in these individual play styles and what we should expect in this game.
Yeah, it seems to me that Joko really doesn't care, but no, it's basically like that shows in his play. He's not afraid to make plays, and he's basically like always trying to be in the moment to a certain extent, where he looks for plays, he looks for ganks whenever he can. Whereas on the other hand, Memento is kind of this control jungler who tries to pace his team and plays with the pace of his team. So that means he's basically setting up vision and setting them up for success instead of himself.
All right, let's see which style will come out on top. Of course, both of these teams, neither of them have qualified for playoffs in a very long time. For Roccat, it was summer 2015, the last time they were there. For Giants, I believe it was 2016, so it's a long time ago. It's not only the junglers that have had changes, mid lane as well. What do you think of some of the itemization changes and how it's going to impact sort of the mid lane meta along with the champion buffs and nerfs?
I think the cooldown reduction, the haste passive basically being on a couple of items, means that there's going to be a 20% cooldown reduction on a lot of items as the first item. So that means there's going to be that huge power spike early on. And we'll see a lot of roams, and I think that will dictate the meta, where we'll see a lot of Ryze, Taliyah, basically champions that can enable themselves and enable the team to basically make plays early on.
And hopefully no Zoe. That would make me very happy.
She's dead.
If she's dead, I mean, she's not going to be banned. That also means theoretically it opens up another ban. What else is top tier for you, Amazing, like phase 1 bans for these teams?
I think Braum, Skarner, Sion, and Ryze kind of, and Varus is the question mark for me. But the first 4 that I mentioned are really, really important nowadays, where Braum is the preferred support, because Skarner is definitely the dominant jungler because he can always get a gank off. And Sion is this top laner that basically will survive the bone plating meta, because now every top laner will take bone plating. I think Sion is good against it.
Okay, so let's take a look at how many you've correctly predicted. For your first pick and ban here on the Caster Desk, Amazing, Sejuani already taken off the table. I would love to see a Volibear. I know it's tearing up solo queue. I know the likelihood is low. I know it doesn't work on the stage. I just want to see it, Amazing.
If Volibear was meta, I'd be on stage instead of casting the games. But no, I think he's not good enough right now. But there's a slim chance that some junglers may pick it.
Okay, we'll find out. We've got 10 games this weekend on 8.4. And in terms of the 2 bans, Camille taking away Galio as well. We heard both Medic and Dracos talking about how Camille sort of went untouched. She's still a dominant top laner. Is anything surprising you here yet?
Not so far. Galio is basically a mid lane pick that is always safe. He will always be fine in a lot of matchups, and he can definitely roam early on. So that's something you definitely want in this meta.
All right, what comes next? What should these teams be thinking about?
It just depends on what kind of direction you want your comp to go in. I think for Giants, it's just important to basically kind of interfere with Roccat wants to do, and like vice versa, Roccat wants to interfere with the Giants wants to do. And both teams still rely on a lot of individual plays and solo laning to a certain extent, so I do think that they're going to pick and ban towards the solo lanes.
All right, pick and ban towards solo lanes. We can see the Galio, the Ryze, taken off the table. I've been hearing things about Cassiopeia. There's Gangplank removed. Okay, so this now sets me up. What is the first pick here for Roccat, and what do you think Giants will prioritize based on their strengths? Joker's continuing to be very comfortable.
I still don't know how he can sit on stage like that, but he's doing his job, I suppose. But yeah, like Skarner is definitely a pick. Okay, we see the ban now, but yeah, for Roccat, it's important to shut down the playmaking for Giants, because Joker is someone that can definitely break or make a game. So I want to see them pick and ban towards there. And for Roccat, Hikyu is still really a strong player. He's still someone that puts out a lot of damage and basically is one of the main carries on that team. So picking the Caitlyn early on is really good.
Yeah, it's his most played champion. The split 4 times played until today. This is now 5, 2 wins and 2 losses under his belt. Braum is still open and available. Norscaran has played that a lot. This split is his most played. And of course, with Tristana being available, what do you think of Tristana being skipped over as a first pick? That's something we saw a lot last week.
It's interesting. I think it's really down to preference and how you want to play the lane, because obviously Caitlyn still has that lane advantage, and they're kind of similar late game. But Caitlyn does provide the ability to take towers early because she will dominate the lane most likely.
All right, towers early. Going to play in your favor. Of course, reminder, we are on patch 8.4. We'll break down some of the specifics of the changes as we get into game. Zach is locked in for Joko with Sejuani and Skarner off the table. Memento's going to have to look somewhere else for his jungle pick.
Yeah, I think the Kha'Zix has been on the rise as we see it now, because blue and red smite do profit him a lot, and a carry pick like that will definitely work in this meta right now.
What are you seeing in terms of the sort of flavor of team comp here on the Roccat side? You've got 280 carries, fairly squishy, high damage jungler. It surprises me a little bit.
It is surprising because obviously, with the Zek being locked in and the Sejani and Skarner being out, there are not too many top-tier jungle picks open, so I do understand why they go for the Kazakhs. The Corki basically just provides some lane pressure, and it's been up-and-coming pick basically in the meta right now, where a lot of teams really like that Triforce Power Spike and the package, which basically gives you the ability to roam at any point.
All right, so 80 carries, junglers, and mid laners both locked in. It's the Azir on the side of Giants, so we still need our top laners and supports. Do they find themselves in the ban pool now?
I think maybe you will cut the Tahm Kench because obviously he's still a really good pick. Taric is up and coming still in EU, where he basically provides so much team fighting where at some point you're not able to win the team fights against him if you try to all in, because you can just put the ult down and basically make your team invulnerable. So he's definitely a priority Ben, but yeah, I'm not quite sure if you want to target Ben because maybe Sion on the top lane because that champion is dominant. And for Prophet, as far as I can remember, I think he's a Nard player. I think both top laners are actually Nard players, so for them, it's really important to maybe contest a Nard pick, even though he's been nerfed to a certain extent.
I'll give you some numbers for that one. Prophet has played 7 games of Gnar out of his 12 games on stage. Ruin 5 games of Gnar out of the 12 on stage. It's Janna that's banned away, and I've also just had this thought. We came in thinking that Joker was one of these slightly more early game junglers, you know, very active, very gank heavy. He's on the Zac, it's a little bit more scaling. Memento's on the Kha'Zix. Is that a surprise to you, or can they still fit their playstyles?
It still fits Joker's playstyle because even though he's an early aggressive jungler, he's still a supportive jungler to a certain extent. And what I mean by that, he's not someone that's going to look to take the kill, but he's going to give it over to his teammates and basically enable them towards the late game, where obviously Betsy can then carry with a couple of kills, or Rune, as we see earlier in the split. But yeah, it fits Joker's playstyle. I'm not quite sure about Memento, but I've played against Memento's Kha'Zix. I've lost to it. So I'm not too surprised to see it.
All right, let's see if Joker's going to lose to it today. The last ban is going to be another support. It is the Brand, the sleeper support that Deficio has been so excited about, and Targamas has a game on stage. He lost it, unfortunately, but that means it's not going to get played. And there's the Sion, exactly like you predicted. So Giants leaving their support pick to last, and for Roccat, they have to find a counter to the Sion.
It's interesting. Yeah, I'm wondering what they're going to pick because I've seen a lot of solo queue players play Darius for some extent. I know that the pro players don't really like him because he has issues getting into the team fight unless he's being enabled in some kind of way. But yeah, the Gnar is still available. Tahm Kench, as I talked earlier, I think he's a good pick in general.
What would you like into Sion, looking at the team comp from Roccat?
I think I would like a tank. I think you need something that basically allows you to engage at some point, because anything squishy right now will put you, not on a timer, but put you in a situation where you have to play for all 3 lanes.
Volibear's a tank. Volibear could be played top.
No, he doesn't count. He doesn't count.
He doesn't count?
He runs in and he dies.
Okay, so going to get swapped away from. Ornn, of course, was hit by the nerf bat quite a lot this patch. Is he that much weaker than Sion right now?
It really depends on the team comp and how you play the map, because Ornn's main thing is still his ultimate. Like, obviously his damage now on the W has been nerfed or basically altered, but the ultimate is still the factor for Ornn, because if you get that engaged down properly, if you can engage on the backline and knock them up, it still allows you to do a lot of things, and Ornn didn't really get hit in that department.
All right, so the long-range initiation still available. It's going to be an important tool for this Caitlyn and Corki, and the team compositions rounded out here by Giants with a Braum support, so only the Sion as that sort of flavor of 8.4 that's been brought in. What are the win conditions for each team composition here?
For Roccat, they definitely have to rely on some kind of late-game team fighting, because Corki and Caitlyn do definitely scale, and Corki, depending on the comp, definitely outscales Arzia, especially with a poke coming in. Not quite sure if it happens in this comp, but yeah, you definitely want to just late-game team fight and hope for the best. Whereas for Giants, they have a lot of options. They still have that late-game option, especially with a Braum into Ornn. You deny that engage, so they definitely picked a really good champion there. So for them, just scale, play towards the bottom lane a bit early, because Tristana and Braum always provide that safe CC and that safe ability to basically get the gank off and just enable them through that.
All right, enable the bottom lane, maybe unlock those early tower kills that you talked about with the Tristana. Here's, of course, a reminder of your 2 team compositions. Jump onto Twitter and let us know who you think is going to win by voting with those hashtags ROC win or GIA win. And let's see whether or not the damage comp on the side of Roccat will outscale the side of Giants with only really 2 of those damage threats. Joker looking very relaxed today as he goes up against Memento. I mean, there's so much pressure on the line here. Both of these teams are struggling. They're in the middle of the standings. They're on a loss streak. Of course, amazing, the last time these teams played, it was Giants that won. It was those Jinx traps right in front of Baron. We were talking about it earlier today. Is that something that comes into your mind? Do you remember that when you're standing there?
I mean, if Jinx was on the enemy team, I think Memento would have some flashbacks, definitely, because he just jumped into it and basically lost the game for his team. But I don't think it's going to pop back into his mind, especially if he looks over and sees Joker just being that relaxed. I think he can take some of that relaxment too for himself.
Exactly. All right. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about the gameplay in a moment. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to everyone here in Berlin, as well as watching at home. We do have a brief player-related pause. We'll give an update as and when I can, and we'll jump back into the game. It gives us a little bit more time to talk about some expectations for itemization.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of variety in the mid lane, I still think, because now obviously people have to almost figure out the patch for themselves. It's not just the item changes, but it's also like obviously the different champions then taking different items and whatever it is. And we'll definitely see a lot less Morellonomicon, because that item is, while it's still really AP heavy and it gives you that flat magic pen now, as far as I remember, it's still an item that basically people relied upon to get CDR, and that doesn't come from that item anymore.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. And of course, for Corki, the item changes don't really impact him, right? He's still going to go with that traditional 80 carry build.
Unless he somehow goes full AP for some reason and trolls, yeah, I think it doesn't impact him too much. I think the Triforce is still going to be the preferred choice into the eye edge, and then look for whatever you want to build into.
Yeah, it's pretty traditional build for him. What about Betsy's Azir? What do you like on Azir? You know, how has his itemization changed, if at all?
Oh, I wish I knew. I guess for Azir it's just about like I think Ludens maybe. I'm not quite sure actually, because Azir does have a lot of options basically, and for him it's still though the same concept. You know, you want to have some attack speed, you want to have early CDR, just to basically get your soldiers down and poke the enemy. So yeah.
So traditional Nash's Tooth, and then we'll see what happens next. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the players are back on stage. So we'll be jumping into Roccat taking on Giants in just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen in Berlin, if you can put your hands together, we're kicking off patch 8.4. And it is Ornn versus Sion in that top lane. A little bit of a change with the Sion. Very excited to see whose long-range ultimate engage will be more effective. Glacial Augment for Ruin in the top lane, as well as Targamas in the bot lane, as well as Noskeren. So nothing really surprising everywhere else when I look down the rest of the keystones.
The Glacial Augment is kind of a surprise, because in some matchups you do want to have the range terrace of the Arcane Comet. So I suppose because it's a melee matchup, he doesn't need that necessarily, so he's opting for that. But yeah, other than that, Glacial Augment on the Braum too, so he has that extra slow instead of Guardian, which basically gives you extra protection. But yeah, overall, nothing too surprising. It's just like basically different iterations of the meta.
Let's focus in on junglers. You already mentioned that Joko could opt into going down towards that bottom lane, maybe enabling the Tristan and the Braum. Obviously, on this patch, a lot of item changes, no more Tracker's Knife. So talk me through this this matchup and the decision-making that Joko Memento can bring to the table.
I think for Joko, just basically, I mean, he opts for the blue buff, which is interesting. I thought he was going to play towards the bottom side of the map, but he's probably afraid of like a Kha'Zix invade or whatever it is, which is why he bought his red buff too. But yeah, for him, just basically slowly scale early game, you know, don't make too many plays that can backfire, don't go for the 50-50, but just stay safe. Whereas Memento kind of has more leeway in that regard, where he can decide, hey, I want to go for this. I'll probably beat the 2v2 because I have a Kha'Zix which does a lot of damage.
Yeah, of course. We've got to combo that with some CC to get the kills. You can see on your stats right now, Memento's jungle proximity, 9th in the league. That's the amount of time that the junglers spend around their laners in the early game. And for Joko, it is the highest. Very active, very supportive. Like we've talked about, trying to enable people, and also fairly successful. Kills plus assists on average, 1.4 at 15 minutes.
Yeah, he's definitely successful. Like last week especially, I think he had the highest jungle proximity in a long time. And he also has been just like efficient, you know? It's just not just his effectiveness playing around lanes, but when he ganks, he actually gets something done, you know? Which is kind of a difference for Memento, who's basically just kind of walking around lanes, not really that close, but still just providing vision. Not really that efficient in the ganking department.
No, but fairly efficient in the vision department. That's something Memento's done very well. Vision score, as well as the whole team, really. Roccat as a squad plays a lot of control wards. We caught a glimpse of Betsy placing that ward just behind the red buff. Memento decides to leap over into the Dragon Pit. And of course, the start by Joko gives him a small advantage. No buff to steal, no challenge. So Memento couldn't go toe-to-toe with Joko Zach.
Yeah, definitely. And now, obviously, we have the Kazakhs kind of like evading the vision because that ward is so specific.
Oh, a lot of damage onto Betsy. Forced to use the summon, a flash. And that's going to give an early advantage to Blank in the laning phase.
Yeah, really smart gang from Kazakhs. Maybe he actually meant to actually knew where the ward was going to be placed because that ward is really common for mid laners to place on the edge of basically the Wraith entrance. And we see another gang coming in mid lane where Joko forces the counter flash.
All right, going to get the little stretching strike. So far, it's gank for gank. Memento fancies his chances. Joko's down to 200 HP. Picks up a passive from that cell division. Blob, rather. And he manages to walk away with his life. But early ganks on both sides, and it's cost summoner spells on both sides.
Yeah, and both towards the mid lane. They understand that this Corki Azir matchup can swing in both ways, where one can push the other, and whoever gets pushed can basically control the pace.
Well, another unfortunate pause here. We are giving you the welcome introduction to the caster desk, amazing, where the dramatic pauses just add to the build-up. It adds to the ambiance.
I think Joko is just unhappy that he cannot fall asleep in that chair right now. It's not comfy enough.
We'll have to see if we can get a cushion. Of course, Kissing famously brought the Baron pillow that he always used to sit with. How he did that, I don't know. I tried it. It was very uncomfortable. But of course, we've seen the junglers' interactions. Not really surprising around the mid lane. Of course, Betsy has had a little bit of help from Joko over the splits. What happens next, right, in terms of communication, in terms of the teams and how they talk to each other based on these repeated and early ganks?
I mean, you basically both teams understand like the win condition to a certain extent, where this matchup can possibly swing both favors in both favors, where you just communicate now. Okay, we don't have. I don't have flash. The enemy doesn't have flash. Gank again, basically. That's communication. And I expect potentially Roam to come in, especially if no Scarin can hit the level 6 before the flash comes back up. You can easily get a gank off mid lane.
All right, use that Abyssal Voyage ultimate, get in behind, maybe even bring Memento with you. Possibilities are there. We caught a glimpse there of Prophet and Ruin trading. What do you think of this matchup? Ornn versus Sion. Obviously, Sion's currently kind of like the flavor of the patch in many ways.
Yeah, it's a hard matchup to predict. I don't know enough about top lane, to be fair, to actually like to say that it's gonna swing one way or another. But I do think that Sion, at least from my solo queue experience, because every time I play against a Sion, it's free lose. That a Sion is getting the push and probably gonna roam around to level 6.
Let's see what he can do right now. Using that Soul Furnace, pushes the wave in. The Battle Roar as well, over and over. Prophet's gonna have to farm at a tower and do relatively well. No real surprises here to open up the early game.
Yeah, the W nerf seems to have hit him. Like actually, because in most cases when you played melee against melee as Ornn, you're more likely to win because your W damage was just so insane that, and the ability to basically spam it almost, that there was no interaction with you.
Well, right now, Ruin's gonna get himself that smash down to start it all. And as they continue trading, both of these teams are struggling at the moment, amazing. Roccat, they're on a 2-game losing streak. And in their last 5 games, they went 2-5. Giants have gone 1-4. We talked in the week about how these teams' strengths and weaknesses are kind of opposite one another. What's your summary on the strengths of both of these teams?
I think Roccat is really good at the theory of the game. They're really smart about like what they have to do in theory, basically like put the wards down, play towards certain matchups and scale to a certain extent where you hit the item spikes and then you team fight and win the game through that. Whereas Giants is really good at making those in the moment cards where they're really active in the early game, where they just play on instincts to a certain extent even, where you just find the plays that you think are right. It's not even like if they're supposed to be right, but that you think in the moment they're right, and that's a huge difference between the two teams. I think Roccat still lacks this intuition almost, where they just pull the trigger and they're like, okay, we're gonna take a Nash now, we're gonna do this now, but they always need a long setup for it, where they take 20-30 minutes almost like to take a Nasher just to get the perfect vision down, where Giants just, okay, we go for it, and if it blows, it blows, and if it goes wrong, then it goes wrong. So for them, that's basically, or for the two teams, that's the difference.
Yeah, that like decisiveness really, and the ability to follow those calls. We'll see what happens this game, whether or not either team has worked on any of those things, whether or not the patch unlocks a few things, because Memento, it feels like he spent a fair amount of time moving into the Giants jungle. We saw him pushing Joko out a moment ago. This is the second time he's gone for this blue buff. There's deep vision in that bottom right quadrant, and both teams have just kind of split the map now.
Yeah, it seems to me that the Tracker's Knife removal didn't quite hurt their chances at warding the enemy jungle because they still have 3 wards on 1 pink board, have a lot of control. You basically see a trade-off with the blue buffs, which is not too surprising around this time of the game, because if you know that the enemy is going to invade yours, you're going to just counter in.
And of course, you're just leaning into the strong side of the map. Oh, Blank is found Joker!
Oh god.
Oh no, the passive is popped. Blank's gonna hop over the wall with Valkyrie. Here comes Memento on the invade. Somehow, that's first blood. It's picked up by Roccat. It's not done yet. Ruin flashes over the wall. It's a double kill for Blank. Now in the passive, Prophet is trying to get run down. Ruin gets the kill from beyond the grave. And that was just a little bit messy.
Sometimes it's important to check that brush for potential ward, because the zombie ward gave the vision on Joko and just enabled that kill for Blank. And once you see someone on your team dying, you try to help him, and it all goes wrong from there.
Oh man, where is that vision? Zombie ward just behind.
That's just really unlucky, to be fair.
Oh, after the map was split.
Kids, when you're in solo queue, use that cone. Just shoot it into the enemy jungle, and maybe you're gonna spot a ward that's gonna save your life. I think that's the lesson we learn here.
Oh, Ruin hops over the wall. So Roccat come out ahead. After all of our talk about Memento and Joko, the early game impact versus the vision impact, it ends up being Joko getting caught out on a little bit of a greedy recall as well. A risky recall in enemy territory.
I don't want to mean him, but we seemed too relaxed early on already. That basically on stage he just took a nap too and went to sleep, I suppose.
That's it. That means he gives up first blood, while Betsy misses the slide and glide Emperor's Divide. Went for the play into Blank. Joko was waiting in the wings, unable to find the target. And that means that Roccat are about 800 gold up. Advantages because it's a double kill for Blank. And there's going to be a gank coming in here for Memento. He leaps forward. Insta-flash from Betsy. Now Joko starts taking a couple of autos. But rinse and repeat, Memento's on fire right now.
Yeah, every time that flashes up in mid lane, it immediately goes on cooldown because Memento has been so active. And basically, Kazakhs is supposed to be a lot more active than Zac and basically get some kind of lead in the early game to basically transition into a stronger teamfight phase where obviously Zac has the advantage, but if the Kazakhs has enough of a gold lead, he can kind of mitigate that and still play towards his win condition, which is assassinating the backline.
So Roccat doing exactly what they need to do with the team composition. Amazing. Both mid laners have just backed, spent a lot of money. Sheen and Phage for Blank. Sork shoes, as well as the first step towards Nash's Tooth. And we were talking about some of the item changes in mid lane. And one of the things that you mentioned was how the one item, or the first item power spike on some of these new items was going to be interesting to see. What's your take going to be like in this terms of Nash's versus Wit's End and how it's different from our existing itemization?
I mean, it's kind of sad that we don't get to see it this game, but bottom lane gangbacks are.
Oh, is this going to be a kill? That's a good flash from Noscared. Joko's Let's Bounce doesn't find a target. We'll have to go back to the items in a moment or two as Prophet and Ruin keep trading back and forth. But they get Noscared's flash and Hiku's heal. And back to the first item power spike.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that we won't get to see it this game because obviously Azir is known to rush to Nash's Tooth, and Corki is definitely not going to buy an AP item unless he's trolling. But yeah, the one item power spike, especially like the GLP, is really interesting to me because a lot of roaming mid laners, I think that item is extremely broken. I think Aurelion really benefits from it now, even more so than before. And I think Talia may actually find her niche in that and become a even more dominant pro pick because she's always been like on the verge of being top tier but never quite made it, but now actually may make it.
All right, well, we'll see what as the day plays out and the week plays out. Azir not going to go that way yet. I want to see which items he does decide to pick up. And of course, Talia, not really a huge EU pick. We've seen it quite a bit in other regions, a little more frequently. As the first Tower Blood is about to be picked up, so Roccat using their early game pretty well, even though one of the strengths of their team composition was their late game team fights. They're just setting themselves up in a great position. Amazing.
Yeah, am I dumb? Was that the first time I actually see that the Born ultimate is shown on the minimap? Is that normal?
It is normal. It is normal. When you're in the God view where you can see all of the teams, you can track it. It's
oh, okay, okay,
exactly.
that's the reason.
You're normally on the receiving end of the Ornn ultimates.
Yeah,
in game, right?
Yes, I thought I was really dumb. So sorry for that question.
No, it's good. It's first game on stage. It's a new vision, and of course, talking about some of the vision. the map is still completely split. Amazing. Explain to me why Roccat have had such control of the bottom lane while Giants seem to completely control the top lane.
Yeah, it's that early game pick in Caitlyn versus Tristana, and obviously Tom kind of like is equal to Bomb to a certain extent. So it's a really good matchup in that regard for Caitlyn. So they're gonna get the push in, and that's why they control the bottom side. And Corki with a 2-0 is able to push that Asi in and is going to control the pace, and that's why, especially on the package, we saw a lot of pressure towards bottom lane. Even though Joker tried to counter it, the turret still went down.
And the tower fell. That means Roccat have got themselves their 2,000 gold lead. Giants were setting up to contest, or potentially contest, the blue buff. It ended up not working out. And that means they're just going to walk away, worse for wear. So Joko, all of our, preamble, he now has to just wait for team fights. Look for an opportunity to invade, use that secondary and third tank in Ruin and Targamas. And I guess if they don't protect Betsy and Steelback well enough, that's the only way Giants can win these team fights, right? Use that front line to protect the double damage source.
Yeah, basically, when you have Sion and Zac, you kind of have an engaged comp, but you still want to basically almost like kite back to a certain extent to enable Tristana and Asia to dish out as much damage as possible. Luckily for Giants, they at least managed to pick up the Herald before the swap came in, so that definitely will benefit them in the long run.
All right, amazing. What is the next steps here for Roccat? They've taken the first tower, they initiated the lane swap, they defended their blue buff. They've done everything what feels like right. So how do they extend this lead further?
Two options. Either you transition from top into mid, which means you have the Kha'Zix basically allowing both the Tahm and the Caitlyn to push up and then walk behind them. Then you walk in the Emma jungle, get the vision down, steal a couple of buffs, cams, whatsoever, as we see now the red buff, and then maybe go mid lane. Or, and this is the other way around that you can basically do it, you can just push up mid lane, allow Blank, especially on the package timing, to just push up mid lane, walk top side, and get that turret on one push.
Well, it seems to be mid lane focused. Blank not yet going to roam.
Joker has to be so scared right now. It's actually impressive that he's basically sitting behind his bottom lane because he can't quite expect when both the Corki and Kha'Zix are going to roam towards the top side, because he doesn't have the vision. He doesn't have the ability to basically put the vision down for his team, which is something that wouldn't be an issue if Braum was not basically tied to his lane. So yeah, he basically has no control over the top side right now and has to continuously walk out here.
In terms of the jungle item choices, we know Track is gone, and of course Joker went blue, Memento went red smite. The champions themselves seem obvious, but what is the decision making on when you should go blue or red? I
mean, for me, it's always like when I can steal a couple of kills with the blue smite, actually proc, I'll get the blue smite. But if I actually just want to 1v1 the enemy jungle and hope that I beat them, then go for the red smite. But yeah, blue smite kind of gives you a bit more ganking ability, that in the moment kind of burst almost to a certain extent, whereas red smite is better for prolonged fights and basically better if you want to kill a tank, especially because true damage is not mitigated by any kind of
counters,
armor.
HP, armor, the works.
Yeah, basically.
And of course, Memento, his job is to try assassinate people later. So red smite makes sense. Joko extending those team fights. He's only got 2 damage sources. He needs to buy as much time as possible. And interestingly, amazing, in terms of the jungle proximity, if you look at the stat right there, Joko spent half of his early game time around his laners. That's in fact higher than the average. But of course, it hasn't resulted in the regular sort of leads and advantages we've come to expect. Why is that?
Because I mean, first off, he has the worst early game champion, but yeah, the top mid fight breaks out basically.
Targamas is dead, amazing. He just gets blown up. Blank responded. So it was option 2, is what you said. Push mid, roam top, and look for the tower. It's not over yet. Memento's found out Joko. Abyssal Voyage coming down, looking for the tongue lash. Will connect. Joko's so low, but there's no further follow-up. Memento got flash and leap available to him. Not going to chase, and Roccat, they're even going to stop the Herald just before it hits the tower for such a low amount of damage. What a fantastic game in the early game for Roccat.
Yeah, Giants finding no opportunities to actually make a play. They're being completely outplayed by Roccat right now, where they have the top lane pressure, they have the mid lane pressure, and they can do whatever they want to.
Man, what a fantastic game. 4,000 gold up, 2 towers to 0. They've got the dragon. Is this just a mistake here from Targamas? Was he greedy for the ward?
I think so. If the Corki has a package, he's definitely greedy right here. But I think he just didn't expect the amount of damage coming out from the Caitlyn at this point, but he should have at least expected the package.
Oh, let's bounce. Now comes out from Joko. Betsy at least gets one back. That's before Memento gets a kill down into Betsy. Joko looking for Memento. A good defensive flash. There's nobody for the stretching strike to connect with. And Steelback's on the board. Roccat pull a couple of Giants mistakes and get caught out inside the jungle.
That's one way to throw a lead, but yeah, like they got overconfident. The Zek still has the ability to basically make the play and allow Ozzy to dish out any kind of damage, because once you're on that ultimate, you're stuck, you're gonna be pulled back, and the Ozzy is free to do whatever he wants to.
Oh, here's a replay of exactly how that started out.
Try to cancel his back and then basically get caught out because he didn't expect the Azir sec, whatever you want to call it. Just got pulled back, and yeah. I didn't think about it, but apparently Azir and Zach have that synergy where they can basically like pull one member from one side of the map to the other side of the map. So yeah, like that's basically going on in their minds, and Roccat didn't expect that amount of damage.
I love that. First game on the caster desk, and we're calling it the Azir sec. It's going to be the Azir ulti into Joko's waiting hands, or even vice versa. It can work both directions. I have an interesting stat for you. It might even be an amazing stat. Would you like to hear it, Maurice? This was the highest gold lead for Roccat in 2018 at 15 minutes.
Well, so my prediction is not too bad, because I did predict Roccat to win. I thought I was an idiot for a second there. But no, Roccat has been on a like up and down and more or less downswing right now. So for them to actually come out and almost like prove a point where, you know, you can't have the enemy relaxing in front of you.
Making a statement, right?
Exactly.
Sending a message. There's one other message that is being sent. It's that Giants read the patch notes. It's that Giants loved the itemization changes, because I see a completed banner of command on Ruin's Scion.
Oh God.
And I think there's one coming for Prophet. So banner of command plus Baron equals dead towers. I want to get your opinion in a moment, because Memento is currently challenging for red buff. There's support coming from Norscarin as well, but they're not going to go for the commit, and it looks like it was secured by Joko. So banner of command top laners, what do you think?
I don't know what to think. If this is just for the sake of getting that Nasher plus, you know, Canyon Minion buff, it's a risky strategy, but I do think that it has a lot of use in a split push scenario. I just don't know who's going to use it. I think Roccat probably has more use in a normal game where the Nash is not necessarily going to fall and you're going to have that ideal scenario. But yeah, it must be for that.
Definitely going to work out. Let's see who can get their first one up and running. Mid lane turret under siege here by Roccat as they're using that 4,000 gold lead as we approach 20 minutes. 100% kill participation for Blank. And they're trying to play around him. That's why Blank has been brought in with Memento and Norscarin. Steelback's running for his life, 300 hit points. The Buster shot not going to be enough, because Norscarin with the swag, flash, lick and ignite.
And he actually loves in the enemy face after he gets the kill. Oh man, I just don't think he expected the amount of mobility that Kha'Zix actually has when he has those mobility boots coming down, that he can always just chase him in jungle. You will never see him even through pink wards, which is a mistake that a lot of teams do in solo queue.
And that's exactly how Steelback gets caught out. Now, if you're Memento and this Buster shot sends you flying, what's going through your head, Amazing? Because I'm sure you've experienced this in solo queue.
If I don't get the kill, I'm tilted. But yeah, like, gladly he had the support to back him up and, you know, jump in, flash in, get the tongue lash down. But you will already see the banner of commands coming down on the bot lane. Just a random use, I suppose. When you buy it, you just want to use it as much as possible until that Nasher comes up, and then you basically like want to time that perfectly with the potential Nasher coming in.
Oh man, Nasher is obviously alive. The Nasher buff has been buffed up this patch. Oh, see if we're going to have any contest. Memento not going to go over the wall, and on the minimap, Prophet is going to come back up Memento and Blank, and it's just donated. Ruin was trying to sneak that one away and ends up being secured. The second Ocean Drake now for Roccat.
Yeah, Giants have been running their own charity this game, I think, because like in most cases, whenever they try to go for an objective or any kind of play, they dismiss the ability of Corki to just have that package and run it down, because like you just started a dragon, you have no control about mid lane, and then you just lose it because of that.
Oh man, there we go. We can see how difficult it is for this Scion to kill this banner-empowered minion. I mean, that is such a long time before it goes down. It'll be interesting to see how it impacts, because of course the Baron buff will now increase the ranged minion's durability. when we add the Banner of Command on top of it, I believe it takes 8 shots to kill a tower if you can get the Banner plus Baron empowered minions. And then I guess you just use the poke of Caitlyn, Corki, Kha'Zix, and the traps to protect it. It's just a siege cannon now, full on.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I think that Rocket's comp is actually supposed to power spike around the time that you get a Nasher. Like, obviously having an lead because of the Caitlyn is something you can always secure. But yeah, when that Nasher comes in and they actually have that ability to siege, they're going to be unstoppable. So yeah, like, you're right.
Well, we'll see how effectively they pull it off, because there's one step having the theory, which is what you said about Roccat, the theory crafting, the planning. It's execution where you really need to pull it off. And that's what I want to judge. Also, Morellonomicon is the first 8.4 item we're seeing in the mid lane here for Betsy. A little bit of a surprise to me. Obviously, Morellonomicon, very big changes from old itemization. Now it's primarily for that Grievous Wounds passive.
Yeah, Grievous Wounds and the Magic Pen passive. Not quite sure why he opts for it here, because I don't think that anyone on the team necessarily benefits too much from Livesphere, but I think it's about that Magic Pen spike that is similar to the old Leandris, that obviously now doesn't have the Magic Pen anymore, but now basically has just the percentage HP and the duration in a team fight, where you get 2% for every second. But yeah, like, it's basically replacing that.
All right, replacing that position. We'll see what damage Betsy has. Joker took a big chunk of damage from Hiku. He got 3 or 4 autos off with his Infinity Edge and Static Shiv. And every time I see this many members of the blue team in the red side jungle placing wards, it feels like a Baron setup. Amazing. What do you think?
I think it is. I think it's Rocket's time finally to just push out the top lane, rotate mid lane, because they would always get the 4-1 priority. If you have so much damage on both carries, you just walk it down mid lane, get the wards down. Even with less wards available, it's still a possibility.
All right, what's the next step? Push the lanes in, obviously, get the wards in the jungle. At what point do Roccat feel confident enough to start Baron?
I think when Corki has the next package and Caitlyn has 3 items, because for them it's really important to just get some poke down. And when you have the rapid fire cannon on Caitlyn, it's really easy to land it. There's no possibility for you to actually evade it, and you'll be poked down no matter what.
Well, Joker's about to get poked down once again. Smited up by Memento, and the red buff's even going to get stolen. I mean, Joko is just having such a tough game. Been invaded, been caught out. He, of course, gave up first blood, caught sleeping a little bit. And it's up to Joko to help turn this around. We focused a lot on Roccat because obviously they're in the lead. How do Giants play from behind is Memento. He's going to fancy his chances on the steal back. Summoner Heal already used. So much damage going down. Memento's now going to get caught up by the Elastic Slingshot. Let's bounce, pulls him back under the tower as the Glacial Fissure buys some time. Not quite sure that Flash Engage was worthwhile, because now all of a sudden Roccat, they're actually peeling back for the Baron.
I think Roccat cannot start naturally yet, but it's so smart how they use the Kha'Zix right now.
All right, the Decimating Smash comes down from Ruin as Call of the Forge God comes out. It's actually missed, not even needed. Betsy gets taken down, and these are just some uncharacteristic mistakes here. People falling apart, being pulled apart, and Roccat get a very easy kill.
Yeah, it was a great setup. They had the Ornn engaged down the mid lane. They knew that Braum was chunked out, so there was no way of stopping it.
Man, look at the vision as well. The observers toggled. Roccat had complete vision control, making all of the right decisions, all of the right information. Double the vision score for Memento over Joko. Obviously, with the gold lead, you can afford to buy more wards, but amazing, you know, what was happening there?
Yeah, Betsy thought he had an easy kill onto Ornn, but there was no way they're going to kill Prophet at that point, because they don't have the damage amongst the two of them. So it was just misguided engage, and they got caught out for it.
Got punished for it. That means Roccat 6 kills to 3. Still 100% kill participation for Blanc. If the analysts were to predict a name for player of the game, I think Blanc might be one of them. He'll be up there along with Memento.
I like Memento's play this game. Like, I thought coming into the game that he's going to be the one that's going to be passive and like not really doing too much, but he opted for the Kha'Zix, and he's basically showing why it's a priority. He keeps assassinating.
1, 2, one more shot, all that's needed. Steal back almost escapes. Will not be able to though. Now Betsy gets chunked out. Slide, glide, divide, and Giants are routed and running for their lives. Joko gets knocked up and caught down. His passive is popped, and the little bloblets get chunked down. Norscarin tastes the fear in Giants, and Roccat will pick up 3 easy kills, setting themselves up for a fairly safe Baron.
That's going to be the Nashor for sure. Memento is playing it so smart. The Dusk Blade and obviously the ultimate passive. If you run into a brush, you're not going to be seen, even through pink wards. There's no way of stopping it, and he's doing beautifully.
Oh, such a good performance as the mid laner is under pressure. But I mean, look, to be frank, the balls to go in 1v4, like that's commitment.
The thing is that he can actually still run out. He can legitimately run from that bush into the top side, so he's not even in danger. Like the way he plays it is perfectly. He doesn't really care what the enemy is doing. He just knows that if I chunk that steel back out, if I chunk the Aussie out, I'm gonna get a Nashor right here.
That's exactly what they did. They got the kills, got out safe. Baron buff plus 9,000 gold. Right, observers, where is the Baron empowered banner minion? That is what we need to track. And we want to see how many shots it does, because amazing, that minion that Prophet will be bringing up in just a moment might actually do more damage to a tower than all of Giants combined. That's what we're going to track. 0 towers killed, only the top tower chunked out. I think this guy could do it.
Yeah, I'm already saying goodbye to that bottom turret, because that should just be gone. Like, it's so interesting that we now have a 100% finish, or we actually have 2 banner minions even, so they can basically push 2 lanes at the same time, and that's gonna basically enable the push, and it's gonna destroy the game because they have so much range on their team.
Okay, we're looking at this. Right, if this tower falls, this single minion has done more to the rift
Oh man.
than Giants! Boom! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Siege minion meta. Norscarin has got himself a banner of command as well.
Look at it. Oh god.
Do you know, this is actually disgusting. The Volcanic Rupture, plus the Caitlyn Yordle Snap Traps, plus the Poke, plus the Bannon-powered Siege Minion. It is destroying Giants. The inhibitor has already fallen. This minion hasn't even been touched, and they can just do it again.
Yeah, I'm glad that the technicalities that I talked about for Roccat earlier, that basically things in the game that, like ward coverage, you know, item choice, whatever it is, are finally working out for them. That banner choice, 2 of them actually on the same team, is really working out for them.
Oh man, Roccat, they're gonna do it again. Look at this damage. How much can it do? Look at that chunk. I think it's dealing more than what Hikyu's doing.
I think Corki is still kind of contesting, but yeah, Hikyu has no chance. That banner minion is just destroying every turret.
Oh man, boom. It takes 8 shots. 2. We're just gonna count them. 3. How do you get past that? 4. Got kicked backwards. Roar of the Slayer.
So that's why you pick Sign in this meta.
There we go. Use that skill shot, and the tower's fallen. Look, the theory crafting's great. The execution's better.
This makes no sense.
Man, it just hurts so badly. Right, amazing. You are a very top-tier player. There are 2 banners in this game. There's 3, in fact. Will we see a banner of command in every game going forward?
Yes, we have to. There's no other way. And I actually think that at this point, you might as well sell one of your items to just get another one of those, because they do more damage than the 80 kit in 80 carries combined.
Oh, this is going to be a very interesting weekend of games, Maurice. I want to take a look at the standings really quick, because if you look at the scores, Roccat 5 and 7, Giants 6 and 6, they find themselves 4th and 7th respectively. If Roccat win this, they're 6 and 7, Giants 6 and 7. How do you possibly predict who's going to make playoffs?
Yeah, I have no idea, to be fair. It's really hard to do right now. You can only base it off of individual talent. You have those favorites in Fnatic, G2, you know, Splices and Misfits, but the other 2 are basically a toss-up. Giants could still make it, Roccat could still make it, and now it seems like Roccat is doing it.
Now, if you turn to the other 8 teams, right? They're coming in, they know their opponents. We're going to cast H2K UOL next. They've got a game plan. And they just see how effective this Baron Banner Siege Minion strategy is. Let's assume you haven't prepared that. Let's assume you haven't seen that yet. How much does that throw off your prep coming into a week?
Definitely a lot. But item choices are not that hard to basically like copy, because in the end you just have to buy an item in the game. But yeah, like if you didn't think about it before and if you didn't scrim against it, this is really hard to play against.
Yeah, it really is. I think there was even a mechanical misplay there. A ranged minion was buffed up, not the cannon minion. I'll forgive it because it's the first time we've seen it. Mechanical misplay on Banner of Command. I'm going to call it that, whether it's right or not, I don't know. But Roccat, they are just destroying Giants. 13,000 gold up, 9 kills to 3. And they've killed more towers with minions than Giants have even touched this game. It feels like a formality. right now for Roccat to just close this game out.
Yeah, I'm just imagining my coach flaming me for misplacing the banner on the wrong minute after the game. So yeah, it seems to be a technicality because at this point, put the banners down and destroy the turrets.
Oh, take a look at this tweet from @Clockwork. Memento schooling EU LCS players on how to play Kha'Zix. Absurd mind games. And Joker's going to try and have a response. He's already used Let's Bounce. They've managed to find a kill onto Prophet, but it's at the cost of Betsy's life. Steelback's out of the fight, and there's no more damage. Giants only have 2 damage sources, and when Betsy goes down, Steelback cannot clean up the fight, cannot be the janitor that his team needs him to be. And with 3 inhibitors down, Roccat are now setting their sights onto the Nexus turrets. Number 1 is falling. Number 2 will follow shortly thereafter. And super minions will be all that is needed. Joker's gonna get chunked out. His passive is popped. Here comes Memento, looking for Targamas. Targamas will escape for a few seconds, just long enough to watch Joker going down. And Roccat set the stakes on patch 8.4. They unlock the Banner Baron minions, and they take down Giants. What a game from Memento. He started the snowball.
I didn't think he had it in him to actually just pick the Kha'Zix and just destroy the game, because he definitely carried in a way where he put up the pressure and he put Joker to the test.
Everything just felt right. Everything just worked the way Roccat wanted it to.
The banners coming in.
The banners, the Baron, Memento's performance. And this just keeps that mid lane, mid-table battles so close and so tight right now.
Yeah, I'm so glad that it is actually this way. We had so many splits in which we had top teams dominate, and it was definitely top 3, top 4 maybe even. But now it's a top 2, and then you have a lot of teams who are definitely able to take games off of one another.
Oh, I'm so interested to see how the rest of this weekend plays out. Sion into Ornn with Banner as their second item. It feels like that might be the flavor of 8.4.
If it's downright dirty, to be fair. Like, I'd feel bad for playing it, but it's the way to go, and you have to do it.
There's going to be a question that I think we're going to have to talk about on PGL. Let's assume we see that. What's the counter to it? That's going to be my question.
There's that certain mastery that a lot of people do have the ability to take in the, inspiration tree, the minion dematerializer. So you have to save one of those, or 2 of those ideally, because there's going to be 2 banners coming in at some point.
Oh man, we'll have to see how this plays out. As it stands, Roccat take the win. They go 6-7 in the standings. They also make Giants 6 wins and 7 losses. And what a great performance. What's it like when you play on stage in a brand new patch, you bring out a very new meta-defining strategy, and you pull it off flawlessly?
It feels really, really good, because like whenever you have a new patch, you don't quite know how the enemy prepared for it, if they have a better read on it, and you just have to trust your instincts and hope that your coach put you in the right mindset, and they definitely did.
And is this something that you can do in solo queue? Or do you think it requires a lot of coordination to protect that minion?
I mean, it doesn't. You just buff it, you just stand next to it, and then it destroys turrets. So it's basically like just another AD carry that you have in your team. So it doesn't take too much coordination, I think.
Oh man, I can't wait to see how many times that item gets purchased going forward. Now let's talk about the other side. Giants, big surprise. I mean, Joko, he just got ran over. The whole squad just, they didn't look. They didn't look. I hate to say this, but they didn't look awake. You know, they didn't look like they were ready to jab and fight back.
Yeah, they seemed asleep. Like, we're going to say that they were not in control of the game at all. They didn't play to the win conditions. They didn't play slow enough for their team comp to actually scale. They basically just gave Roccat the win, and it just happened.
It really did. Unfortunate for Giants, exciting for Roccat. For more on exactly how they win, let's head over to Dracos in here from the support.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Congrats on your first cast. Amazing. But more importantly, Northscarin, congrats on the win. Now, there's something we have to talk about, and that is a Banner of Command. What is going on with the Banner of Command Baron buff synergy? Run me through that.
I mean, the Banner of Command we all know is broken with Baron. You know, it makes it easier to win games faster, so we don't have this like 1 hour snooze fests, or it's so boring with the 1 hour games. So I guess Riot just wanted to end games quickly with the Banner. So.
I mean, it's pretty exciting, but did you expect it to go this well, that like 1 Baron and 2 Banner of Commands would just take you to victory immediately in this game?
I always, when I, like, the new patch, I always thought about if you get a Baron, you can end the game really fast. It's just a group. Like, I told my team, just go mid, like, put the Banner, but we have 2 Banners, so we were able to take 2 inhibs like really free, like in 2 different lanes, and like the 3rd inhib is really easy to take when you already have the 2nd. So.
And I'll be honest, despite my experience in solo queue, that is the first time I've seen it done that well. So it was crazy to watch. Now looking at the team as a whole and kind of where you guys are at, there's a lot of playoff predictions going around. Some of them have Roccat in it, some of them don't. Where do you see this team stacked ranked against the other teams in Europe right now? Where would you consider yourselves?
We're obviously not the best team, but obviously we can make playoffs. Like we showed today, if we get good windows, I mean, we abused their mistakes, ended the game with banner, so I guess obviously we're a good playoff team, or we can like make playoffs for sure.
I like it. Give me one more with one more confidence. Roccat gonna make playoffs?
Of course.
There you go. That's what I love to hear. All right, thank you so much for talking to me. Congrats again on the win. Now, before we go to break, it's time to take a look at those Copenhagen tickets. They're now available. You can check them out on eu.lolesports.com. And in the meantime, you can see if you love Deficio's meat as much as I do.
Det handler om arven, hvor forfædres ære, de ofre, der smede vores land. Det handler om Valhalla, krigene kæmpet, kysterne raided. Det handler om den lidenskab og det engagement, vi dedikerer hver dag. Og det handler om blodet, sveden, tårerne for arven i vores store nation.